Hello and welcome to HPA-Global Insights, where we'll be interviewing experts from the dietary supplement, nutritional ingredient, and overall natural health food industry. Please like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell, and comment below. Now on with the show. Today we're here with our special guest, Ewa Hudson, the Director of Insights from Lumina Intelligence. Hi, Ewa, how are you?
Hello, Jeff. It's wonderful to be here with you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share our findings.
Yeah, what's the weather like? It looks kind of shiny there. You got some sun or no?
We were very lucky to have a few days of sun, 12
Nice.
degrees Celsius. Yes, very rare in London.
Okay. So we actually know each other for the last like 7 years, 8 years, something like that. I think we met at Probiotic in Amsterdam, which was a really great show that I attended, and I actually had a little speech there about China too.
Yes.
So back then you were working with another company.
Yes,
but
I
now,
was. I was with Euromonitor.
Yeah. But now you're with William Reed, which runs the Lumina Intelligence. So give us, for people that don't know about Lumina Intelligence, give us a little intro.
Sure. So basically, Lumina Intelligence is a business insight service specializing in probiotic e-commerce. We look at 25 countries, 10 leading retailers per country, and we track the best-selling probiotics, especially probiotic supplements. And how consumers engage with them, what's the response to these products, how satisfied they are. We measure how many reviews these products are getting, and also what's the average star rating, because that shows how satisfied people are. And this gives us a very good understanding of all the engagement, relations between products and which are coming in, which are perhaps going out, if they don't get any reviews and get very low star ratings. And yeah, a different dynamic and another way of looking at the market.
So what we'll do today is, you've got all kinds of intelligence, thus the name. Let's dive into some figures. I know you got a bunch of great information to share about the industry. So let's dive into your PPT and have a look at some great stuff.
Sure. Let me just share my screen. 1 second. No. What I'm going to do today is to show you some of our latest insights that cover the whole of 2020. So what happened in the online space, especially within probiotic supplements, juice, cosmetics, and kombucha in 25 markets. And yeah, we can compare the first and the second half of the year to kind of see the acceleration of the engagement as well. Okay, so people did buy a lot of probiotics and they engaged with them last year, that's for certain. Measuring basically the online reviews since 2017. We can see here in the last two bars show actually the first and second half of 2020. And there were more reviews last year than in all the years prior to 2020. So in 1 year alone, we had engagement of 3.6 million of new reviews, basically, which is more than 3.2 million accumulated prior to 2020. So that was a massive acceleration of the trend. In percentage terms, so let me just take this down a little bit. Zoom, go down. In percentage terms, across 25 countries, that equaled to 112% of growth. And also, it was important that the star rating went a little bit up. It was 4.5 in the beginning of the year, and it went up to 4.6 stars out of 5, which is important because it's very difficult to please consumers, but that's certainly going in the right direction.
So that's, this is all digital reviews and whatnot from Amazon and these type of places, I'm guessing, right?
That's exactly correct. So basically, we look at what's happening on Amazon and other 10 retailers per country. So for example, in the US would be Walmart, GNC, well, a number of retailers basically, and we accumulate what's happened across all of these platforms.
Well, that's just huge. 2017 to now till 2020. That's just huge growth there. Wow.
It was a massive growth. Surprise, surprise. It's just great to see that our data illustrates or tracks that growth. So in terms of categories, probiotic supplements are here in the lead amongst the 4 categories that we measure. There's an interesting development around cosmetics. We call them probiotic cosmetics for simplicity, because that's how they come. If you look at the packaging, it says probiotics on it. But I know that the International Probiotic Association would argue with this name. So perhaps we should call them cosmetics with prebiotics, or with some sort of forms of microbiomes or even postbiotics in them. But anyway, there are loads of new products on the market, and there's a strong engagement. So it's a very interesting pocket of growth, let's say, around probiotic cosmetics. And in terms of the country rankings, China is #1, and the digital marketing teams in China, I think, need to work 10 times harder, because they need to secure 10 times as many reviews for every $1,000 worth of sale across the e-commerce. So I can see them being extremely busy. If the North American teams are doing well, or so they think, when they go to China, they probably need to work 10 times harder to compete with the local players and players who are currently there. But the United States also did really well. We recorded a growth of 217% in 1 year in the number of reviews posted. And it actually, for the first time, jumped as #2 ahead of South Korea. South Korea used to be at the 2nd place all the way since 2017. So it was really interesting to see the United States taking the 2nd place this year. And many developments in countries where the e-commerce was perhaps a little bit behind. So for example, the United Kingdom going up by 200%, India, massive growth from a very small base, over 1,000%, Canada even 500%. So these economies that were behind are definitely seeing the uplift, or saw it last year when consumers were forced to change their shopping habits. And once they change shopping habits, usually when it makes the life easier, that these habits will kind of continue to grow. So here in this slide, I'm just comparing, ignore the majority of the slide, just focus on the last 2 columns, those in pink. And actually the number at the bottom, basically it shows the growth in the first half of the year, which is 41% across all 25 countries, and 51% in the second half of the year. So there's this acceleration, actually the pace increased as the time went on. And it was even more so in the United States, because in the beginning of the year, the growth was 34%. And at the second half of the year really kind of pushed these shopping habits and, engagement with probiotics. And we had 136% growth. So it's putting us in a really strong position for 2021. And now if we look at the target populations, looking at how probiotics are positioned, there was a very strong growth from niche products for vegetarians and even animals like dogs in particular, to deal with diarrhea or so. But overall, children were the target population that saw the largest amount of growth and ranked #1. But this was heavily skewed by China. So China had a very big impact on that number, and we can jump to the live data in a minute just to kind of show what the data would look like without it. But after that, women was a very important population. There was a very strong growth in probiotics for women, even men, and adults, seniors. Seniors is a gap in the market across the majority of the countries. There are very few products overall. So it's definitely an opportunity to kind of build that space. And the last slide is showing you the same, but cut by health benefit. So the largest growth, here I'm looking at that red dotted line, which shows the growth in the whole of 2020. The largest growth came from probiotics for inflammation, actually, or positioned to support inflammation. Then muscle, because we had a number of products, kind of sports nutrition products coming to the market, diabetes, bloating, cholesterol, then gut, brain, acne. Immunity was already around the 7th place. So it's very interesting to see these novel niche areas coming to prominence and seeing quite a warm welcome from consumers. But obviously digestion is still number one, and even plain digestive health position products. So a big jump in terms of the number of reviews. We strongly believe that it's from actually new consumers coming to the scene, trying probiotics perhaps for the first time, learning about them, going for the wellness products, because consumers who have medical concerns and go for symptomatic products would usually be a bit more specific. So we do believe that there's this kind of influx of new consumers coming to the market on the back of the developments of the last year. So these are my slides for today. I hope they gave you an idea of what we do at Lumina.
Yeah, this is some good information, and I think one of the interesting topics that we can segue into is your database, which is your intelligence database for companies to subscription-based paid for system. But in there, earlier we were going over it, and we'll touch on that China issue again with the kids, and it was really interesting to see the filter you use to show that. So let's check that out. And again, this is for companies to use, contact you guys and get set up with a subscription and have access to all these filters to go through.
So we can very quickly compare, for example, China to other countries. In 1 second, let me just make sure that I don't have other filters on. So in China, we have like 4.8 million reviews, growth of 97%. If I compare that very quickly to the United States, it would be 730,000 reviews, let's say, in the United States, but a strong growth of 217%. And now if we look at target population, so this is the data that you've just mentioned. If I look at all the countries, so this was the chart I was showing a minute ago.
Sure.
The probiotics for children were higher up here by size than general adults. And the fastest growing were for vegetarians and animals. If we take out China, I just deselected. These numbers already changed. So basically it's products for the general population that saw the largest kind of gain here. Yeah, probiotics for adults, women, and children ranked
yeah. Wow. So
basically.
children went way down just taking China out. That's amazing. But this is, for the rest of the world, excluding China, that's the general adults, women, etc. is the way it goes.
Yes.
Even
if I go to the United States, the largest target populations is adults, then general women. I think there was a very interesting development around the infant products, because in the first half of the year, which is shown here in the pale gray color, the growth was decent, 75%, but it really accelerated in the second half of the year. So the overall total is very, very strong. So for probiotics for infants in the United States, we saw a really big jump from nothing to kind of quite a lot of engagements. I think this is also pretty interesting.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. When I arrived in China in 2004, 5 kind of time frame, there wasn't much available. And then, you know, anything that had to do with probiotics was really around infants and babies, in the baby formula, infant formula. Then there was some companies that came out with, you know, the stick packs, you know, for infants that had, you know, colic or diarrhea or digestive issues. It was really, really focused on that. I didn't see anything in the market that was for like adults at that time frame, or general
Yeah.
purposes, or immunity, or any of that stuff. So that makes a lot of sense.
If I jump to another dashboard, since you mentioned packets and sticks, they're still the predominant format in China.
Sure.
Actually, yeah,
well,
leading the way.
That has a lot to do with the regulatory situation there, you know, in terms of a lot of probiotics. There's a number of strains that are approved as food in China. And as long as you keep the dosage form in a food format, like a stick pack powder, chewable, something that you would actually eat or swallow other than a pill, you can get it into the market as a general food. But if you want to sell it like a capsule, 2-piece, or anything like that, then you need to go for that registration that China has, which is very, you know, time consuming, you know, years and lots of money. So again, it just makes so much sense that China is still, you know, the stick packs and sachets are the big one. Makes a lot of sense.
Yes. And I saw that recently there were changes around the gummies, yeah, in China. Sure. And so gummies are not here pretty much, whereas they would be here in the United States as number 2. So I do also expect some of the developments around gummies potentially. So what else can we show? Maybe the last thing was the health benefits. So as I mentioned, sorry, let me just refresh the page.
There we go.
Yes. So so this was the chart I was showing. Inflammation, muscle, diabetes, bloating, cholesterol were here in the lead. And again, like, things were happening. So for example, the inflammation, the major growth was in the first half of the year. There was still very fast growth in the second half of the year, but it really kind of kicked off in the first half of the year. Versus, for example, products for muscles, kind of probiotics for sports nutrition, where the growth was in the second half of the year, the darker gray kind of. Mm-hmm. But obviously the overall annual growth was very, very strong. And yeah, cholesterol products coming in the second half of the year, bloating. So it's the sedentary lifestyle, perhaps, you know, taking a big Sure. hit overall on the kind of shifts in consumer wishes and wants and needs and purchases at the end of the day.
Wow, that's amazing stuff. Well, let's wrap this video up by talking about what you got going on in the near future. I know there's a probiotic coming up. I'm sure you guys will be involved in that, and let us know what else is going on.
Yes, so there is Probiotic Washington coming up in June, I believe, and we will be present there presenting. We are also working on 2 big data sets. So we are working on the update of all this data. We will be adding many new products to this data set to reflect all the products that came to the market. And we do see loads and loads of new products coming to the market. And at the same time, we are also updating our e-commerce data. So it measures market size, market shares for probiotic supplements specifically across the e-commerce, because this was one data set that was kind of missing. And we already published the data in 2018, 2019, and now we are basically working on the update of that data set. It will be due for it's scheduled to be published in September. That's quite a big undertaking across 25 countries. So yeah, we need a bit of time to basically go through all the numbers, everything, and build that market size. But it will be a very, very important figure, because everyone wants to know exactly what happened in 2020, what was the growth of the online space, and how this fares for future, for the next 2 or 3 years at least, and how many of these kind of shifts from the brick and mortar to the e-commerce, you know, what's the share that will permanently stay with the e-commerce, because this will have a huge impact on the distribution and supply chain, etc.
All right, Evan. Well, thanks again for all that great information you shared, and for all those probiotic companies out there. Get in touch with her if you need that information. It's definitely useful and needed in the market.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present. It was a pleasure to talk to you too. And you always share so many interesting insights on China. I'm always fascinated by them. And I was in that presentation, at Probiotic Amsterdam 7 years ago, and I still remember quite a few things about traffic in China and having to deal with this and cross-border traffic.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing your insights too.
Okay. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to HPA Global Insights. Please like, subscribe, and share with your colleagues. Any questions or suggestions, email us at info@uschinahpa.org. This channel is operated by US China Health Products Association, which is a nonprofit organization. Please consider joining the association and supporting its global endeavors. Your support is very much appreciated. Until next time, take care.